So our objectives by the end of this presentation, the students will be able to understand the basics of structural functionalism, conflict theory, and international dependence revolution for explaining how societies recognize and compare these theories, seeing how they look at social issues, develop an open attitude towards the ideas, understanding how they help us make sense of society. Good morning, everyone, especially to you, Sir Torres. In this lesson or in this discussion, we will discuss the three theories, which are the structural functionalism theory, the conflict theory, and the last one is the international dependence revolution. So in this three theories, it divided into two, together with my partner, which is Miss Mary Joy Namuko. So I will discuss with you the first theory, which is the structural functionalism theory, and the second theory, which is the conflict theory, will be discussed with my partner, and the international dependence revolution will be discussed by the two of us. So let's first tackle the first one, which is the structural functionalism theory. But of course, before we proceed to what is the structural functionalism, let's first define what is functionalism in the society. So it's stated here that functionalism, also called structural functional theory, sees society as a structure to meet the biological and social needs of the individuals and that society. When we say structural functionalism, it is a framework for building theory that sees society as a complex system whose parts work together to promote solidarity and stability. So in structural functionalism, it composed to malfunctions of part. Everyone has a specific job. So in the society, when we say structural functionalism, all the structures that are belong in the society needs to function. Kinahanglang mag-function to promote stability in the society. So here in structural functionalism, there are social structures that need social functions. Kani nga structures need sila nga ga-function. Kinahanglan nila mag-function to promote stability within the society. And this manifest functions and latent function we will discuss it later on. So here is a picture of a social structure and social functions. The stability is in the middle circle. Nganong nganong naa sa center ang stability. And those circles nga naa sa gawas sa stability circle are the social structure. Mo na mga social structures nga kinahanglang mag-function sa society. Every structure has a specific job. Kana sila tanan nanay specific job. For example, ritual, economy, family, education, and faith. These social structures need to function. Kani sila tanan naa ni sila mga trabaho. Kinahanglan nga taga usa nila ga-function. Kay if ang usa sa ilaha wala ga-function, malfunction of parts will cause to imbalance and problem to the whole system, and it will not promote stability in the society. So let's define those sociologists that part of this theory. Sociologists who contributed to the structural functionalism theory. So let's first know the first theory, which is Herbert Spencer. Herbert Spencer, born in 1820 and he died on 1903. Functionalism grew out of the writings of English philosopher and biologists who saw similarities between society and the human body. He argued that just as the various organs of the body work together to keep the body functioning. So, Herbert Spencer believed that the human body or the organs of the human body has a similarities sa part sa society, sa social structure sa society. As you can see, here, this is the human body. Kani siya. Kani. Na heart, na lungs, naay muscles, kani sila tanan kinahanglan na silang ga-function. Kay of course, kung usa sa ilahag wala ga-function, the person is not healthy. Dili mag-work ang body sa usa ka tawo kung usa sa part or usa sa organ sa body sa usa ka tawo wala ga-function. So in this perspective, the society's social system is seen as analogous to the human system, wherein all systems of the human should be working harmoniously in order to be functional body. So these parts of society that Spencer referred to were the social institutions, the pillars of the human society, and these are government, economy, education, religion, and family. Kani sila tanan mo nag-refer ni Spencer nga pareha sa human bodies, organ sa human body. Kani sila pareha siya sa social, pareha siya sa pillars of the human society. As you can see here, kani sila tanan. Pareha ni sila sa part sa organ sa body, sa human body. Kinahanglan sila mag-function. For example, if dili stable ang economy sa usa ka society, how can you ensure that the society can able to promote stability if one of the social system is unstable? Do you think nga makapromote og stability ang usa ka society kung usa sa pillars of kung usa ani nga social system wala ga work or kuan siya naa siya sa imbalancement? No, it promote malfunction. Dili mag-work tungod kay nay usa sa ilaha wala ga work. Each of them kani sila tanan naa ni sila ilang kaugalingon nga trabaho nga kinahanglan nga ga-work gid silang tanan. Dili pwede nga usa sa ilaha unstable because the society will crumble. Let's proceed to the second sociologist, which is Emile Durkheim. Emile Durkheim, another earliest sociologist, applied Spencer's theory to explain how societies change and survive over time. So Emile Durkheim, he is also a sociologist that contributed to the structural functionalism. He also applied what Spencer's theory and how Spencer see the similarities of human body to the social system of the society. So Durkheim believed that individuals may make up society, but in order to study society, sociologists have to look beyond individuals to social facts. Social facts are the laws Okay, I will explain it to you. So social facts are the laws, morals, values, religions, beliefs, customs, fashions, rituals, and all of the cultural rules that govern social life. So in the society, there are social facts and social institutions. In social institutions, these are created to meet the needs of the people. As I discussed a while ago, these are the schools, the banks, the church, the business, the corporation, and many more to mention. The social facts that Emile Durkheim referred, it is the external factors or social forces that unconsciously affects people. Individuals have no control or they cannot change social facts. You can change social facts. For example, you can change the beliefs of the people. You can change the laws. Example of this is the law. We can change the law, beliefs, nationality, and morality. This evolved sa gipanganak ang usat ka tawo hangtod sa mamatay ni siya. Society must be balanced. Mo na giingon ni Emile Durkheim na kung naay social facts, naay social institution, kinahanglang balance siya. Kay if the social facts naay rapid change, mag-cause siyag imbalance. Ang institutions, if naay changes, it must be little by little. Kay kung naay rapid change sa institution in the society, it will cause mag-crumble ang society. So, the third one is Robert Merton. He is also the sociologist that contributed to the structural functionalism theory. So Robert Merton, he born in 1910 and died in 2003. Another noted structural functionalist, Robert Merton, pointed out that social processes often have many functions, manifest functions, and latent functions. So, manifest functions are the consequences of a social process that are sought and or anticipated. And latent functions are the unsought consequences of a social process. Latent functions can be beneficial, neutral, or harmful. So, manifest and latent functions are opposite to each other. So, that's how Robert Merton believed on the society. So this is the types of functions, for example, education and media. Manifest function for transmission of knowledge and skills to the society. Going to media for entertainment, information, and news. When we say latent function, used for babysitting to contain the children while the parents are busy earning a living or doing after things, the media to escape boredom while at home. So that's how this functions how this manifest and latent functions work in the society, and that how sociologist Merton contributed in this theory.
And now let's proceed to the conflict theory. So, conflict theory refers to the endless conflict between different classes in a society arising out of inequalities and scarcity of resources. So, conflict theory is a sociological perspective that views society as a collection of different groups with conflicting interests, particularly between those who possess resources and power and those who do not. The theory suggests that social order is maintained through the dominance of the privileged class, leading to ongoing conflicts and struggles over limited resources and opportunities. These conflicts are seen as inherent and perpetual, driven by the structural inequalities within a society. So, what is conflict theory? Conflict theory views a social and economic institution as tools of the struggle among groups or classes used to maintain inequality and the dominance of the ruling class. So, in conflict theory, social and economic institutions are seen as mechanisms that serve the interest of dominant groups or classes, often reinforcing existing inequalities. The theory asserts that these institutions, such as government, education, and the legal system, are not neutral but are shaped to benefit the ruling class. For example, laws and policies may be designed to protect the interests of the wealthy and maintain their position of power. Next is conflict theory holds that social order is maintained by domination and power rather than by consensus and conformity. According to conflict theory, those with wealth and power try to hold on to it by any means possible, chiefly by suppressing the poor and powerless. So, conflict theory argues that social order isn't primarily based on shared values or consensus, but it's upheld through the exertion of power and dominance. In this perspective, individuals or groups possess, possessing wealth and influence strive to maintain their privileged position by employing various strategies, often involving the suppression or exploitation of the less privileged. The focus is on the continual struggle for control and resources, with the powerful seeking to safeguard their advantages, even if it means oppressing or marginalizing others in society. This perspective contrasts with the theories that emphasize cooperation and consensus as the foundation of social order. So now, let's proceed to Karl Marx, the father of social conflict theory. So, founder Karl Marx 1818 to 1833, known as the father of communism, had many ideas about capitalism and communism and their effects on society. Conflict theory was born out of those same ideas. So Karl Marx, born in 1818, is indeed regarded as the father of communism and a key figure in the development of conflict theory. His ideas, particularly outlined in works like the Communist Manifesto and Das Kapital, focus on the critique of capitalism and its impact on society. Marx argued that capitalism inherently led to class struggles where the bourgeoisie, or the owners of the means of production, exploited the proletariat, or the working class. Yes, kung sabi niya And now let's proceed to the sociologist use conflict theory to explain conflict and inequality between groups, including social classes, genders, races, professions, religions, political groups, and cultures. So now let's first discuss about the social classes. In social classes, in the context of social classes, conflict theory is employed by sociologists to explain the inherent conflicts and inequalities that arise between different groups within a society. According to this perspective, a society is divided into distinct classes with varying levels of power, wealth, and access to resources. The conflict arises from the competition for these limited resources and the maintenance of social order. So now let's proceed to the genders. So in the context of genders, sociologists use conflict theory to analyze the power dynamics and inequalities that exist between different gender groups in society. Conflict theory highlights how societal structures, norms, and institutions contribute to the perpetuation of gender-based conflicts. Now let's proceed to races. In the realm of races, sociologists employ conflict theory to elucidate the conflicts and inequalities that arise among different racial groups with the society or within a society. Conflict theory scrutinizes how power imbalances, discrimination, and structural inequalities contribute to racial disparities. So now let's proceed to the professions. So in the context of professions, sociologists use conflict theory to elucidate the conflicts and inequalities that emerge between different professional groups within a society. Conflict theory in this context explores how power dynamics, social status, and access to resources contribute to disparities among various professions. And now let's proceed to the political groups. When applied to political groups, sociologists utilize conflict theory to analyze the power, struggles, and inequalities that occur among different political factions within a society. Conflict theory in this context focuses on the competition for political power, resources, and the influence that certain groups or individuals exert over decision-making processes. And now let's proceed to the last, the cultures. So in the context of cultures, sociologists employ conflict theory to understand how conflicts and inequalities arise among different cultural groups within a society. Conflict theory in this context explores how power dynamics, cultural norms, and access to resources contribute to disparities among various cultures. And now let's proceed to the conflict theory. Includes four main assumptions. So first is the competition, where people are always competing for limited resources, money, material items, property to provide for their wants and needs. So the assumption of competition in conflict theory posits that individuals and groups within a society are engaged in ongoing struggle for limited resources. This competition is driven by the desire to fulfill basic needs and wants such as money, material possessions, and property. Conflict theories argue that the distribution of resources is inherently unequal, leading to power imbalance and social conflicts. So now let's proceed to the structural inequality. When individuals and groups compete for resources, they inevitably experience inequalities. These inequalities might be related to profession, rights, or opportunities. So, structural inequality within the framework of conflict theory emerges as a consequence of individuals and groups competing for limited resources. As the competition unfolds, certain structural features in society contribute to the uneven distribution of resources, resulting in inequalities across various dimensions such as professions, rights, or opportunities. So now let's proceed to revolution. Because social classes are in constant conflict, revolution is common event. Social change and shifts in power dynamics result from sudden major conflicts rather than continuous adaptation and evolution. Revolution is how society changes and improves. So the concept of revolution in conflict theory suggests that due to the constant conflict between social classes, revolutionary events become a common means for significant social change and shifts in power dynamics. Instead of gradual adaptation or evolution, conflict theorists argue that revolutions marked by the sudden and major conflicts are instrument in transforming and improving societies. And now let's proceed to the war. Last consumption, main consumption. Um, when competition between groups grows to a certain point, conflict between intergovernment or nations can occur. Major conflicts can either unite societies or provide ways for new social hierarchies and groups to form. So, in the context of conflict theory, the occurrence of war is seen as an extreme manifestation of competition between groups, open intergovernments, or nations. When competition escalates to a critical level, it may lead to armed conflicts between these larger entities. War is regarded as a significant outcome of intense struggles over resources, power, or conflicting interests. So now let's proceed to the international dependence revolution. So when existing theories of development largely failed to bring any changes in the lives of the developing country people, the growing discontent among the developing country economists lead to the emergence of new theories of development. These theories, which became popular among the developing country economists in the 70s, came to be identified as the International Dependence Revolution. So, the International Defense Revolution refers to a set of theories of development that gained prominence in the 1970s, especially among economists from um, developing countries. Like, for example, our country, the Philippines. So, this intellectual shift was driven by dissatisfaction with existing development theories, which are often criticized for their inability to bring out meaningful improvement in the lives of people in developing uh, nations. So the core idea behind the international dependence revolution is that economic development of nations is closely linked to their position within the global economic system. So it challenges the traditional models that assumed linear progress and advocated for modernization or economic growth as the primary indicators of development. So, that's all my report about the conflict theory and the first part of the international dependence revolution.
So hello once again everyone. So let's proceed to the international dependence revolution. So, international dependence revolution, when the existing theories of development largely failed to bring any changes in the lives of the developing country people, the growing discontent among the developing country economies lead to the emergence of new theories of development. These theories, which became popular among the developing country economies in the 70s, came to be identified as the International Dependence Revolution. So, Independence Revolution classified into three subgroups, which are the neo-colonial dependence model, the false paradigm model, and the last one is the dualistic development thesis. But I will discuss with you the two subgroups of this of independence revolution, which are the neo-colonial dependence model, and the second one is the dualistic development thesis. And the false paradigm model will be discussed by my partner, which is Miss Namoko Marijoy. So let's first define what is neo-colonial dependence model. So it's stated here that it is viewed that the rich countries, through their intentionally exploitative or unintentionally neglectful policies, hurt the developing countries. So, neo-colonial dependence model builds upon the ideas of dependency theory, focusing on the continuation of economic and political dominance by former colonial powers and advanced economies over less developed nations. So this model emphasizes how neo-colonial relationships persist even after formal colonialism has ended. So here in the neo-colonial dependence model, we can talk about the economic exploitation, because economic exploitation persists through unequal trade relationships, where former colonial powers benefit from the resources and markets of less developed nations. This often involves the extraction of natural resources and the perpetuation of trade imbalances. So, the neo-colonial dependence model, like dependency theory gid siya, it provide a framework for understanding the persistent power imbalances in the global system. So it emphasizes the way in which historical patterns of exploitation continue to shape the relationships between developed and less developed nations. Third one is the dualistic development thesis. So it's stated here that this is an extension of the dualism concept widely discussed in development economics. So the dualistic development thesis is a concept in development economics that emerged in the mid-20th century. So this thesis suggests that economic development in less industrialized or developing countries often occurs in a dualistic or two-tiered structure. So there are associated dualistic development thesis. So the first one is the dual economy. So the thesis posits the existence of two coexisting sectors within the economy of developing countries. So one sector is typically characterized by modern, industrialized, and technologically advanced features, while the other sector is traditional, agrarian, and less technologically developed. So the second one is the urban-rural divide. So the dualistic nature extends to an urban-rural divide. Urban areas represent the modern industrialized sector, while rural areas often reflect traditional and agrarian characteristics. So this divide may result in disparities in income, employment, opportunities, and access to resources. The third one is the labor migration. So as part of the dualistic structure, there may be a migration sector to the modern sector. there may be a migration of labor from the traditional sector to the modern sector. So this movement is often driven by perceived opportunities and higher wages in urban, industrialized area. And this last one is the unequal development. This is the most important key point in associated to the dualistic development, which is the unequal development. So the thesis implies that economic development is uneven, with the modern sector advancing at a faster rate than the traditional sector. So this unequal development can lead to social and economic imbalances within the country. So it is important to note that while the dualistic development thesis provide a framework, and provide structures in developing countries, it has been criticized for oversimplifying complex realities and for not adequately addressing the dynamic nature of development processes. So here in dependence revolution, there are major weaknesses. The first and the second. So the first is these theories are mainly focused to find out why the underdeveloped countries remain underdeveloped. They lack any concrete ideas as to how a country should initiate and sustain development. The second one is large-scale failure of countries which follow the more radical approach and took the revolutionary path. And here in neoclassical counter-revolution, this supply-side macroeconomic policy, rational expectation theories, and privatization of public corporations. And that's all for our report. Thank you everyone for listening. Have a good day.